crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Hey guys, Bix Weir. This is it's an alert on oil. A really interesting thing just happened. The CFTC, which is a regulator for the commodities, issued a warning on price, saying CFTC to warn on return to negative oil prices. Since when does a regulator comment on prices in a freely traded market? Very interesting. Let's see what it says. The U.S. commodities regulator is issuing a rare warning to brokers, exchanges, and clearinghouses, not to individual investors who participate in the oil market through ETFs, but to brokers, exchanges, and clearinghouses, urging them to be ready for the risk that oil prices could again drop below zero. This is a huge flaw in the commodity market. They don't trade commodities. They're not trading oil. They're trading derivatives of oil that can be traded in the 100, 200, 500 times the underlying commodity. The CFTC will advise exchanges to monitor their markets and remind them, oh, by the way, to, quote, maintain rules to provide for the exercise of emergency authority, including power to suspend or curtail trading in any contract, gold and silver especially, if markets become disorderly, according to an advisory notice to be released on Wednesday. The alert comes after the U.S. benchmark Texas WTI contract plunged below $0 a barrel last month for the first time as buyers search for places to store a glut of oil. Clearinghouses, now this is from the CFTC, quote, should prepare for the potential that certain contracts may experience significant price volatility and that negative pricing is a possibility, the advisory said. The WTI contract for June delivery is expected to expire next Tuesday, raising the prospect of a repeat of the chaotic final 2 trading days in the May oil contract, which settled at a minus $37.63. If you were JP Morgan, you had a huge short on oil, would you rig the market? Would you pull your purchase bids so that there's just sellers in the last few days, like they did last month? Absolutely. Now, the problem is you're fighting with Steve Mnuchin, the market rigger extraordinaire, and the U.S. government has supposedly, nobody really knows, 75 million barrels of storage capacity. Or 75 million barrels of storage capacity. Nobody really knows that, though. And remember, prices are set on the fringe. If you saw this warning, would you go out and buy oil? No. Would you try to get rid of your current contracts? Yes. Who would be but the buyer? Steve Mnuchin would buy up to 75 million of them, right? But how much is there? How much oil is there right now? An open contract, 154. So even if Mnuchin bought every single oil contract, there's still about 75, 78 million barrels of oil that have to be delivered, extra oil has to be delivered on Tuesday. Would you take the other end of that contract? No way. If anything, people may be shorting. Then again, it might be a setup for Mnuchin and boys and JP Morgan, whoever knows which way the fix is going to go. So if people start shorting, and then all of a sudden JP Morgan and the U.S. federal government buy massive amounts of contracts and destroy the shorts, rising the price of oil to $100, that's the way the game is played. You got to be in the know of who is actually doing the rigging. I don't know if it's going to go up to $100 a barrel or down to minus $100 a barrel. In a rigged market, it's a click of a mouse. But this warning, a rare warning from the CFTC, is probably sent out as a manipulation tool. We will see. I don't know. Quote, we are issuing this advisory in the wake of unusually high volatility and negative pricing experienced in the May 2020 WTI light sweet crude futures contract on April 20th. It says the 8-page advisory, wow, signed by CFTC heads of market oversight, clearing and risk, and swap dealer and intermediary oversight. A senior CFTC official said its notice applied to all contracts, not just oil. Voila, there you go. Gold and silver. Watch for gold and silver to stop trading on the COMEX this month. I think that was in my timeline, that there will be hiccups in frozen markets. This is not just oil, my friends. Watch the gold and silver contracts. Let's see where we are. We are not predicting. Oh, here we go. Where was I? Negative pricing is a possibility. We are issuing advisory in the wake of high volatility. A senior CFTC official, that's awesome. When they say a senior official with the government said its notice applied to all contracts, not just oil. So he didn't want to be named who it was, not just oil, and did not represent a forecast that negative oil prices would return. Quote, we are not predicting the market. We're just suggesting planning. Brokers should prepare for potential that certain contracts may experience significant price volatility and possibly negative pricing, CFTC said. Connecticut-based Interactive Brokers disclosed a $104 million loss as it compensated customers who were struck in last month's trading around WTI contract because their program couldn't handle negative pricing. CME first, why didn't they just write a check to JP Morgan and say, hey, I know you're going to rig the market come Tuesday here. Here's $100 million. Let me save $4 million. The CME first warned traders and brokers of the prospect of negative oil prices on April 8th. It reiterated the possibility a week later. Intercontinental Exchange, which lists oil contracts in London, also enabled its system to permit negative pricing. Terry Duffy, CME executive. Oh my God, Terry Duffy. Guy is criminal of criminals on the CFTC. Or the CME. That guy, he is not a heavyweight, by the way. Terry Duffy is ridiculous. He lives up to his name. This is the COMEX chief executive officer. Told CNBC last month that his company worked with regulators for 2 weeks before announcing that negative oil prices would be allowed. So this was no secret that this was coming. CME and ICE clearinghouses have also been preparing for a negative pricing by switching the way they calculate pricing options. It's ridiculous. It's a game. It's a rigged game, and it continues. Welcome to the United States of America. Mainly in the U.S., everywhere else rigs markets too, but mainly in the U.S. Again, the current open interest, 154,000 contracts. After they said, hey, be prepared for negative prices, the amount of contracts dropped was 35,000. I don't know which way they're going to rig it. But clearly the rig is in, the fix is in. Get ready for some hyper volatility, I would say, in gold and silver, as well as oil. Could go up, could go down. Yeah, they could set the price of silver to $0 or $600, $700, $1 million with a click of a mouse. That's the world we live in. Unfortunately, HSBC, which is one of the prime riggers, looks like they're being left out of the JP Morgan gold rig at least. HSBC lost $200 million in one trade on the gold market turmoil. The loss was in late March as New York and London markets diverged. HSBC Holdings. HSBC is one of the criminal market riggers. Hong Kong Shanghai Bank was the original name. They were the original rigger of silver 170 years ago during the Opium War. Absolutely. That bank was set up to facilitate the opium addiction in China. What was happening is London and England, everybody loved the Chinese spices and silks and everything coming from the Orient. And Asia was on a silver standard. China was on a silver standard. So what did they do? They just had to send silver over to China. And the banksters said, oh my God, what are we doing? What's happening? Then they had this brilliant idea. Let's get the Chinese people addicted to opium and require that they pay for the opium in silver. And we'll set up the opium fields. We're going to need a bank, so we'll set up the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank in China so that all the silver we're providing them turns into opium to help destroy their country and get all the silver out of China and back to England. And that was the invention of Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, the beginning of silver market rigging in the early days. That's how long the price of silver has been suppressed, over 170 years. The Opium War was back in. That's amazing history. Hey, if you want to learn more about history of silver, go to roadtoruta.com. Type in silver manipulation in the search function. Right up there at the top, under the guy on the motorcycle, is the search function. Search for silver manipulation. You will find 1,131 articles on silver manipulation. All kinds of good stuff. Silver manipulation quiz. Take the quiz. Quiz is really cool. Click on the quiz. And there it is. There's like 20 questions. Which monetary metal is the most manipulated on a daily basis by the banking cabal? A, gold, B, silver, C, platinum, D, none of the above. I started off with really easy questions, and then I got to some tough ones. What is the definition of the U.S. dollar as defined by the Coinage Act of 1792? Is it 1 ounce of silver based on the average weight of a worn Spanish peso? Is it 371 grains and 4/16 parts of grain of pure standard silver? Is it 1/20th of an ounce of 0.999 fine $20 St. Gaudens gold coin? Or is it 23.22 grains of gold? You got to be knee deep in silver to know all this stuff. Why did Warren Buffett sell all his physical silver holdings in the first quarter of 2006? There's some great questions here. Actually, I'm going to put this at the top of the Road to Ruta. If you go to the homepage, you'll see the latest video. The new site's awesome, by the way. But right at the top of the Road to Ruta letters, right above the Big Silver Short audiobook by Chris Marcus, I'm going to put the silver quiz. Take the silver quiz and send me an email, bix@roadtoruta.com, and tell me how you did. Really cool. Anyway, this is a huge sign, a huge warning for everybody in commodities. Something big is going down in May. Could go up, could go down, could go sideways, but something big is coming. My guess is the CFTC is working with Steve Mnuchin, and it'll go opposite of what they're saying. So they want everybody to sell their contract, and then they're going to run it up high. It could be the opposite, though. It could be anything. Depends what Steve Mnuchin feels like when he goes down to the basement of the Treasury, turns on his rigging computer and says, clicks his mouse. I want oil to go to minus 100. Click. Hey, JP Morgan, help us out here. Let's get oil down to minus 100. Click. That's the way our world runs. There's no such thing as free markets in America. I would love to see what capitalism was like. The glory of capitalism. I don't know any country in the history of mankind who has ever practiced capitalism. True capitalism. No bailouts, no regulators, the real thing. It might be coming because I don't think these regulators are long for this world. I think they'll get tossed out with the crashing of all the markets because they didn't do their job. They let the DTCC create unlimited shares of stock, derivatives on gold, silver, oil, and cryptos is just ridiculous also. Everything is ridiculous. Anyway, just be safe in May. Check out Private Road. I talk about this in the timeline. May is going to be a big one, and June will be the insanity. This is Bix. I'll talk to you later.